Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar this evening. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, so I'm excited and I'm still nervous, even though, I can't see any of you, but that's okay. So I hope everyone can hear me okay. Again, my name is Christine Everett. I'm the 8th grade counselor at Palm Harbor Middle School. And I just changed the slide over to my direct email if for some reason you needed to contact me. So we're going to be going over the Florida high school graduation requirements and pathways to graduation and some other things that are just really important in regards to the transition to high school and resources for throughout high school you can use. Okay, so I had put the presentation agenda up on, Brooke, I'm getting a lot of feedback from you, just to let you know, if you can hear me. Okay, there we go. All right, the presentation agenda. So I'm going to be very, very specific with all of you to break down the Florida high school graduation requirements by subject area, what you need for classes, what everyone needs for assessments. Yes, unfortunately, there are assessments. We can't get around them. There are specific assessments that have to be completed and passed in order to graduate in the state of Florida. I'm going to give you some general information about world languages. Because world languages is actually not needed for high school graduation, but it is very much needed for college admissions. So I'll get into more detail about that later. Some general information about Bright Future Scholarship. We're going to go over the diploma designations as well as the pathways to graduation. Those two are actually very much connected. It's a requirement for the state of Florida that every 8th grade student chooses a pathway to graduation, but it's certainly nothing that is set in stone and can be changed at any time. I'm going to go over the career program we use in middle school and your child can continue to use throughout high school and why that would be helpful. It's called Zelo, is the program that we use. And some other enrichment programs I think that are helpful in regards to preparation for the FSA in 10th grade, in preparation for the PSAT and the SAT. So that is our agenda for today. Okay, so we're going to get started and get down into the nitty-gritty of it. In general, the graduation options for earning a standard diploma, Florida law requires students to complete 4 years minimum of 24 credits for your standard 4-year program. I actually stop here because when I educate my students and my families in 8th grade going into 9th grade, although 24 credits is the minimum in the state of Florida to graduate, we are set up a little bit differently in that our students take 7 classes a year. So they actually have the opportunity to earn 28 credits when they graduate, which puts them in a much better position. And if you, in addition, for those students who are able to take high school classes while they're in middle school, they may have 29, 30, 31, 32. At Palm Harbor Middle, they can earn up to 7 credits in middle school. High school credits while they're in middle school. So that puts students in actually a greater position, in my opinion, for Pinellas, because if you have 28 credits when you graduate versus 24, you're going to be much more competitive for post-secondary. But in general, 24 credits is what's needed for graduation. There is a 3-year program called Excel. That's 18 credits that I will go into a little bit more detail. And then in 8th grade, students also can apply for magnet and academy programs. 2 of the programs that result in a high level of curriculum and result in their own diploma would be the ACE or Cambridge, called the Advanced International Certificate of Education. That program in the county is available at Tarpon High School, Clearwater High School, and Dixie Hollands High School. And then there is also the International Baccalaureate Program, which is available at Palm Harbor University, Largo High School, and St. Petersburg High School within our district. Again, those are by application when you're in an 8th grader going into 9th grade. Okay, so there are 16 core credits to graduate, and there's going to be a detailed explanation in just a moment. And then the rest of the credits are electives. And there's your magic number, 16 plus 8 equals 24 for your diploma. Because, again, our students earn 28 credits when they graduate, this 8 actually will be 12 credits instead. And it doesn't have to be electives. It can certainly continue to be academics depending on what your child wants to do and what their interests are. Okay, so to start breaking it down for the 16 core credits, there are 4 credits of English required for graduation, 4 credits of math required for graduation, 3 credits of science, 2 of which must have a laboratory component, for example, biology, chemistry, or physics, 3 credits in social studies, 1 credit in the fine, performing, or practical arts, which I will give you some more details about that in just a moment. 1 credit in physical education to include the integration of health. It's called HOPE for short, or Health Opportunities Through Physical Education. And I actually put the online course there because it is a requirement that all students must have an online course in order to graduate in the state of Florida. The main reason for this is there's so many of the campuses now, post-secondary, include online courses that they want students to become familiar with that platform prior to graduation and prior to university, if that's the choice of where they're going to go. If you add it all up, it's actually 17 because that online course really can be an elective. It's not a core, but I just wanted to put it there so that you were aware that it is a requirement. Okay, so breaking it down even further, the 4 credits in English. ELA stands for English Language Arts. Of course, there's English 1, 2, 3, and 4, and there's honors and regular. But there's also, as the student progresses throughout the upper grades, there are other avenues they can go. There are higher rigor courses they can take, such as AP, Advanced Placement. That's actually available in every subject area. Dual enrollment is another way that students can satisfy that requirement. Dual enrollment is when you're spending half of the time on campus and half of the time at the college campus, typically in 11th and 12th grades. And again, if your child does apply and get into ACE or IB, the ACE and IB classes satisfy those requirements for English for graduation. There are 4 credits required for mathematics as well, one of which must be algebra. Yes, we can't get around it. Algebra is required for graduation, and one of which must be geometry as well. So if your child is able to get an industry certification, which is becoming more and more common in our county, that there's lots of industry certifications being offered, whether it's computers or vet tech or child care assistant, that industry certifications that may lead to college credit can substitute for up to 2 math credits, except good old Algebra 1 and Geometry. You can't get around those. Those must be taken. Also, an identified rigorous computer science course with related certification, industry certification, may also substitute for up to 1 math credit, except algebra. All right, on to science. Okay, so there are actually only 3 credits required for science. A lot of my high achieving students do continue the science into the 4th year of high school because they're able to take then college credit. Once you get your requirement done, you're able to take usually advanced placement classes in its place, and that allows you to earn college credit while you're in high school for free, which is a wonderful opportunity. But back to the science, 1 of which has to be biology 1, and 2 of which must have an equally rigorous science course, and 2 of them must have a lab component. So again, we're talking about biology, chemistry, and physics are usually the 3 that cover that, that most students may experience or take while in high school. And then the same thing is with the math, industry certifications that lead to college credit may substitute for up to 1 science credit, as well as a computer science course with a related industry certification. I don't know off the top of my head what those classes mean, but certainly your high school counselor will be a great resource in regards to helping that if you are going for an industry certification to see if that would substitute, for a math class or for a science class. But again, can't get around that biology 1. So there are 3 credits in social studies, and social studies is a little bit different than all the others because every high school does it differently in regards to one of these pieces, and it's the 3rd piece, the U.S. government. So in general, you have your 3 credits of social studies. The first 1 credit is in world history. That's typically taken on campus in your 10th grade year. 1 credit in U.S. history, typically taken on campus in your 11th grade year. And then you have a half a year or a half a credit or 1 semester of U.S. government, and then you have a 0.5 1/2 credit in economics with financial literacy. So again, at Palm Harbor Middle, we have five feeder schools that our students go to. They do it half and half. Some of the schools do have the students take American or U.S. government as a freshman, but many of the students actually don't require. Many schools do not require students to take that U.S. government in their 9th grade year. They actually push both those pieces off until 12th grade. So it really does depend on the high school within the district, but you do still have to get the requirement done. It's just a matter of when. I'll have my students say, yay, I don't have to take history. I'm like, well, you don't have to take it in 9th grade, but you will have to take it eventually to graduate in 12th grade. Well, and all your friends will be done. So it all washes out in the end. Okay, continuing with the core credits. 1 credit in the fine, performing, or practical arts, including speech and debate. We'll cover this as well. So there are at least 100 courses. There are a variety of options at every high school to get this requirement completed. So this is all of your art classes, all of your music classes, drama classes, your technology, computer, business, and industry certification classes. So it's not difficult at all to get the requirement done, and most of my students, when they get ready for high school, they do get this requirement done in 9th grade. But just remember that just because there's only one that's needed, you are absolutely allowed to take more. You're welcome to take more classes in any of these areas. I have, of course, my students that are really into art and music, and they want to continue band, chorus, or orchestra throughout high school. That's absolutely okay. That'll count as your additional electives that you need for graduation. But technically, there's only 1 credit required to graduate in the state of Florida. And then we come to HOPE. So our health opportunities through physical education on most campuses is taken in 10th grade. And although HOPE is the only PE requirement, students are welcome to take other PE classes if interested. So again, although HOPE is the only requirement, every high school offers your basketball, your team sports. Some of the schools offer soccer. Weight training is a big one. So a lot of students continue to want to take PE, which is absolutely okay. That will just count again under electives that you want to take. But again, the only requirement in the physical education category is this HOPE class. And it kind of falls into the online course, which is the last thing. HOPE is a great course to take online. Your online requirement can be a semester course or a full year. It just so happens that HOPE is a full year, not a difficult course. I always recommend to my students, you're not going to take chemistry online, or you're not going to take physics online. You want to take something that's going to be easier. So take an elective. So they actually offer HOPE online, of course. They offer driver's ed online, creative photography. So there's lots of options. And I'll give you the resources for the websites for Florida and Pinellas Virtual School at the end of the presentation. There's lots of ways to get the online credit done, but a lot of students choose HOPE to get it done because then you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 special. You're getting your HOPE requirement done and you're online at the same time. And then when you're in school, the year you're supposed to take HOPE, you can take something else in its place. And last but not least, we started talking about the electives. So after all, everybody's got to take the core. I mean, we can't get around that, all the math, science, social studies, and language arts. So the rest of the credits become electives. Here's where your foreign language comes in, which I'm going to get into a little bit more detail in a couple of slides. If your child signs up for a magnet or academy program, for example, the veterinary program, the medical program, the engineering program, or STEM, this is where those elective credits come in. Most of those programs have required elective courses you must take. So that's where those credits would come in. That's where you also, your certification, if you wanted to get an industry certification, that would come in. And again, just some fun classes kids sometimes want to take in preparing freshmen. Child development's a fun class that my students like to take. Again, weight training is one that a lot of the boys like to take. So there's a lot of options in regards to elective courses in getting them done. And then if your child, of course, is not doing well in regards to reading or math, there may be an intensive reading class or intensive math class that's also offered as part of elective credits to help boost for the FSA and things of that nature. Okay. All right, now we get to the assessments, the assessment requirements. Yay. Okay, so we can't get around them. In regards to your GPA, in order to graduate in the state of Florida, students must have a 2.0, a C average, for all cohort years. So you can't have like a 1.0 for ninth grade and a 3.0 for 10th to average to a 2. It has to be a 2.0 overall for all 4 years. So that's just something to be aware of. The other good thing that I didn't mention earlier, because our students have the opportunity to earn the 28 credits upon graduation, if for some if for some reason they don't do well in a class, they can retake the class for grade forgiveness to help improve their GPA. So that's also a great benefit for us having 28 credits, potential 28 credits when we graduate. Students must pass the grade 10 English Language Arts, your ELA FSA assessment. They're giving multiple opportunities to try to pass this examination. If they do not pass it the first time, that magic level that you may know already, magic level 3, scored on a 1 to 5 scale. If for some reason they are not able to pass that, they do offer alternatives now, which is also a wonderful thing. They can take the SAT or the ACT and have a specific concordant score, which will allow them to pass for the English reading requirement as well. The other requirement has to do with your algebra EOC. So here's that math test again. So algebra EOC must be passed in order to graduate in the state of Florida. Again, if a child does not pass the first time, there are multiple opportunities and remediation provided to students to help them. And there's also an alternative assessment called the PERT, or the Post-Secondary Education Readiness Test, that students can take for some reason. If they're not able to pass the algebra EOC, they can take the PERT instead. And if your child does, or I know I have students on here, if you do participate in algebra, biology, geometry, and U.S. history, you must participate and you must take the EOC assessment at the end of the year, and it is 30% of your final course grade, again, for those 4 classes. Okay, so earlier, a couple slides earlier, we talked about, I mentioned the Excel, or the 3-credit option for graduation. The main difference between the Excel and the 18 versus the 24-credit option is there's certain requirements not needed, and it's generally in the elective category. You only need so many elective credits, 3 instead of 8, and HOPE in your online course will not be required if you decide to do the 18 credit. I guess, how do I want to explain this? In general, students that are college bound or are going to continue their education post-high school, I generally don't recommend this program because of the opportunity for students to earn college credit while they're still a high school student. So if you're on an advanced track and you're doing very, very well in school, and your child is starting their requirements in middle school, that means they're going to be done with the requirements earlier in their high school career, and that will allow them to take college credit or college classes while they're still a high school student. All of that is actually free of cost to your child. For advanced placement or AP, there is an examination that has to be paid for at the end of the year, but in regards to the credit for college, that is free for families. So my rationale to them is, why would you graduate in 3 years and pay for your college when you can stay in high school that 4th year and get basically potentially a year of high school under your belt for free? So the Excel option, I've seen kids do that are interested in maybe military, they're interested in starting a business, or they're going into their family business. So that would be certainly an option for students as well if they're looking to complete high school in 3 years instead of 4. So the district does allow, and the state does allow a child to say they wanted to start on the Excel, but for some reason it's too much for them and they want to defer back to the 4-year plan. They absolutely can do so at any time. And if they're unable to earn the credits they need by the end of the 9th grade year or the end of the 10th grade year, they would automatically defer back to the 4-year option. And again, it says at the bottom of your screen there that they must earn that magic level 3 on a 10th grade ELA assessment to be eligible for the 18 credit Excel diploma. Okay, so the one thing I didn't mention, which I want to make sure I mention, is foreign languages. So you probably noticed when we reviewed all of the requirements for graduation that foreign language wasn't there. Well, that's because in the state of Florida, you actually do not need a foreign language to graduate. But if you are looking at post-secondary and you are looking at to get into basically four-year university, whether the Florida State University system or most institutions in or out of state, you absolutely positively must have a minimum of 2 years foreign language. And the 2 years must be consecutive. So what happens is I have students that take Spanish at my school, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to take Spanish anymore. Can I take French next year in high school? I said, sure, you can take French next year, but you can't have a piece of Spanish and a piece of French. That will not satisfy the requirement for the state university system or for college. So you have to make sure you have Spanish 1, Spanish 2, French 1, French 2, and so on. And in general, due to the competitiveness of getting into many colleges, 3 consecutive years or more of a foreign language are recommended. The average number, I don't have the exact data, but the average number of foreign language years that students have continues to increase in regards to competitive to get into, say, UF, FSU, in our state university system. So again, world languages not required to graduate from the state of Florida, but are required to go to four-year university. I just want to briefly touch upon the Bright Future Scholarship requirements. This is not something students apply for until their senior year of high school, but and I'll be sharing the website, the resource to find out more specific information. But basically what I would like you all to know is the 3 types of scholarships. It's based on your overall GPA, test scores, which is your SAT, ACT test scores, and community service hours. There are 3 types. The highest level of funding or highest level of scholarship is called the Florida Academic Scholar, followed by the Florida Medallion Scholar, and then the Gold Seal Vocational Scholars. The one thing that is impacted for middle school students potentially going into high school is those community service hours. Students are actually allowed to start working on their Bright Futures community service hours the summer before 9th grade. In fact, Brooke Pear is the one that actually approves the sites for students, because I just had my outgoing 8th graders. Some of them are starting the requirements. So that's something that just to be aware of. The minimum number for the highest level scholarship I know is 100 community service hours. Obviously, the more the merrier, the more probably looks good in regards to applying for college, but just wanted you to know that. The more specific criteria for GPA and test scores will be in a link that I'll be sharing with you shortly. All right, we're going to move on to diploma designations. So in the state of Florida, students can earn recognition by completing a particular diploma designation, which again, this will align with our pathways to graduation, which I'm going to go over next. So the standard diploma is what we've previously discussed, all your 4-year requirements that we pre-discussed. Students can earn recognition under a scholar diploma. This includes more rigorous courses in math, science, foreign language, and earning at least 1 credit in advanced placement, IB, ACE, or a dual enrollment course. So obviously I mentioned that IB and ACE. I did see your question come in. We are going to answer questions at the end, just to let you know. I just saw it pop in. So we will certainly address that with you in just a little bit, if you could just be patient with me while I finish the presentation. So I'm sorry, I was mentioning IB and ACE. Those are the programs you apply for in 8th grade for your 9th grade, IB program or ACE program. But what's open to all students is AP, advanced placement, or dual enrollment. Potentially, you have to apply for dual enrollment as well. But by taking one of those college classes while you're a high school student will make you eligible for the Scholar Diploma. And then Pinellas County students actually have this fancy and advanced Scholar Diploma. So it's available for our students who graduate with Scholar Diploma, but in addition, they earn a level 3 or above on 3 AP exams. So this is the child that obviously is taking a lot of rigorous courses, and they are certainly recognized for that with the Advanced Scholar Diploma. The Merit Diploma is also available for our students who graduate from the state of Florida and they have 1 or more industry certifications. This is something that's happening more and more, and I actually need to, as a 8th grade counselor, make myself more familiar with all of the industry certifications that are available in our district. But that is also a diploma designation as well. I saw that another question pop in. We will answer questions at the end. If you could just hang in there. Thank you so much. Okay, so your pathways to graduation basically align with those diploma designations. And so we have the Advanced Scholar Pathway, which includes your ACE program, your IB program. It aligns to your Advanced Scholar Diploma. It includes a rigorous series of required and elective courses that best prepare students seeking admission to competitive universities, four-year universities, both in and out of state. So when students say, I don't know what pathway to choose, this is something that they are required to do in 8th grade. They have to choose a pathway to graduation prior to entering 9th. So what I tell them, I realize that as a child and as a parent of a child, students don't even know what they want for breakfast, never mind what they want to do for the rest of their life. So just please know that none of this is set in stone. It's not mutually exclusive. A pathway can be changed at any time. They may think, okay, you know, I'm doing the IB program, but then the IB program turns out to be too much, and that's okay. So there's nothing that forces a student to remain in one of these pathways, but this is in general what the pathways are. Scholar pathway is that student that, yes, I know I want to go to college. I don't know if it's going to be 2-year or 4-year, but I'm going to take some advanced or honors courses to be prepared for that. That aligns with your scholar diploma. And then your technical college pathway is, hey, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do yet. I don't know if I'm going to just get a certification, if I'm going to go straight to work. I may go to college. I may go to technical school. I'm just not sure yet, and that is your technical college pathway, and it aligns also with the merit diploma. So again, in the state of Florida, students must choose a pathway to graduation prior to entering 9th grade. But again, like I said, it is not anything that is set in stone. Okay, so I know that there's students and families on here from all different grades. I saw that we had middle school and high school, so I don't know. I'd be curious actually for high school, if any high school students are continuing to use this. We've been using this program called Zelo, just the last, I would say, maybe two, 3 years with our middle school students, and it's really a great resource. So I just wanted to go over this. We do start using this in middle school, but you can continue to use this throughout high school. So Zelo is Clever. Clever should be something very familiar to students. They all have a Clever account through Pinellas County School Board. There's lots of programs within Clever. So as Clever, they sign in as a student. They log in with their R2D2 and password, which pretty much I'm sure every student knows what their R2D2 is because they use it all of the time to access things while they're in school. So students complete career exploration through Zelo in 6th to 8th grade. And in 8th grade with me, well, with the 8th grade counselor, they complete a 4-year high school plan. All right. So Zelo has a lot of features. We really just scratched the surface in middle school in regards to some of the things that we show the students. But again, it's extremely helpful even going further when you're looking at post-secondary. So in regards to assessing, hey, where am I at right now? I mean, in 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they're not sure yet, but it's really interesting to find out what their interests are. Hey, what job or career may I like or be good at based on my interests? And that's something we do with them in middle school. It's called a career matchmaker or interest inventory. They can also see, what jobs will fit their personality, their learning styles, and what skills they have or think they may like. They can use Zelo to explore colleges and majors, what schools have, for what jobs maybe they come out with when they do the interest inventory, what schools have the majors to help them get that job later in life. Again, information on scholarships and financial aid you can find through Zelo, as well as general skills about building your resume, how to job interview, have a career portfolio. So there's lots of things that Zelo can help students with, whether it's middle school or high school. So to get onto Zelo, they log in through Clever. This is, again, what we did in middle school, what we do in middle school. They complete the career matchmaker that will connect their interests to specific careers. The students are required to explore careers to determine ones that they're the most interested in, and they save it. They have like a little portfolio that they can save it to. You know, we try to get past professional athlete. Everyone's like, I want to be a professional athlete. That's great, but, or I want to be a singer. Okay, I mean, that's wonderful, but we want you to have a backup plan because it's very, very difficult to get into those careers. So, you know, we basically have them save, you know, at least, I think it's 2 to 3 careers to their plan or to their portfolio. And then they actually can look at what colleges in the state of Florida or anywhere in the United States, what colleges have that program and where they, you know, places that they're interested in. Oh, and their favorite thing to do when they do the interest inventory is how much money can I make? So yes, so through Zelo you can find out about the careers, how much education you need, and how much money you can make. They're like, yes, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm like, okay, you're going to go to school for 12 years. Oh, I don't want to be a doctor. No. So it's just very informative in regards to giving students information about post-secondary options and careers. All right. So again, I mentioned earlier that there is the 4-year high school plan that is required by the state of Florida. It's part of the career curriculum that must be completed prior to the transition to 9th grade. This is not done on your own. This is done with the 8th grade, primarily the 8th grade counselor or the counseling team at the middle school. It is, although it's a mandatory activity, we really only focus on the 9th grade because the 9th grade we know because they may have just registered for the 9th grade, and we do the core classes for 10th, 11th, and 12th based on the current track that they're on. We don't focus on the electives for those years because they're just too far away. We're not sure what I don't know as the 8th grade counselor what electives a child will be able to take at Tarpon High in 11th grade. So again, we focus on 9th grade and specifically because they will have just registered for 9th grade. We do this in the spring. And then core classes for 10th, 11th, and 12th. This is a working document that can be modified at any time. This is a plan. Again, this isn't like set in stone or anything like that, but it allows them to see the progression of the courses and it allows them to kind of check themselves for graduation, saying, okay, I know I have that requirement done, I still need to do that. So it's a way for students to take ownership of their education by doing the 4-year high school plan. It also tracks your GPA. Oh, what I forgot to mention is, Clever, again, is connected to the Pinellas County School Board, to the Focus portal. So Zelo actually knows what classes your child has taken and passed, and it actually uploads their grades automatically into the 4-year plan once they finish the class itself. So in that way, it's able to keep track of their GPA, weighted and unweighted, class rank, what graduation requirements they need, and this is also the program that they choose a pathway to graduation in 8th grade. Okay, almost done. Okay, some other resources that I just felt would be helpful for all of you to have. The Personalized Learner Pathway. This is also a newer program that's offered through Clever. This program does two main things that I feel like would be helpful. It allows students to set academic goals, keep track of volunteer hours or activities they've participated in with specific dates, so that if they do decide they want to go to college and when it's time to apply to college, all the information is in one place. I remember, well, it was a long time ago, but I remember trying to, put everything together when I applied for college. Now they have the technology that helps keep track of this stuff in order so child can set specific goals for themselves. And again, when we used it with the 8th graders this year, they said, oh, can I say that I did this volunteering experience? I said, absolutely, put it in. That way they have it. The dates are in there because it was current. And that way when they go back and have to apply for university, perhaps as a senior, they'll have all that information already written down in one place. The other piece that PLP, or Personalized Learner Pathway, is really good for is there's actually a section of it that has the most current FSA scores for reading and math. And again, because Clever is connected with the Pinellas County School Board and the Focus portal, it knows how your child did in FSA for the previous year once the scores come in. and it helps to develop an individualized tutoring or remediation program, FSA reading or FSA math results, which again inherently is a little creepy that it knows that, but but with the technology the way that it is this day, it's actually amazing that basically the program knows what questions your child got wrong, and it helps to remediate and provide some tutoring or basically practice questions in order to improve their skills in those areas. And again, this is for FSA, for your reading and your math FSA. Khan Academy, on the other hand, does the same thing, except this is for your PSAT and your SAT prep. So what happens is your child takes the PSAT in 8th grade and in 9th grade, and I think even in 10th grade. So it takes those results, you link your account with College Board, and it does that same thing. It knows then it's able to see what questions or what areas that your child did not perform as high in, and it develops an individualized tutoring or remediation program to help improve SAT performance, which of course is very important for post-secondary. The linking of the account with College Board and Khan Academy will be set up in 9th grade with your child's school counselor, just to let you know. Okay. So the last slide that I have, which you may want to take a photograph of this, again, we are going to have this entire presentation available up on the eCounselor website in a few days, are these links for many of the things that I discussed today. The first link is a link to the state of Florida Department of Education, the graduation requirements. Again, I went over it very much in detail, which is probably pretty similar, but there is some additional information on this website. The pathways to graduation that we discussed, there's the website for the pathways. Pinellas Virtual School and Florida Virtual School, those are the two primary ways that your student can get their online course done. Just to let you know, virtual school is free of cost for Pinellas in Florida for your child in the state of Florida. So it does not cost anything to take an online class. And I have many students that take more than one class because they're looking to improve their academic status, get some of their requirements done early so that they have more room to take college classes while they're still a high school student. Zelo, I listed the links for Zelo through Clever, as well as your personalized learner pathways through Clever. Khan Academy is khanacademy.org. And then the last two are for basically Florida Student Financial Aid. Bright Futures is there, but there's a lot of resources there. I know that's a really long link, so I would maybe take a picture of it. And then the State University of Florida, State University System of Florida. So the one really piece of information that I give out to my parents every year is they have something called a matrix. It basically has all 12, I think it's 12. It's either 12 or 13, but it's the state universities and what your child needs to get in based on the middle range. What was the GPA to get in? What was the SAT, ACT score? Do they need to write a college essay? It had all the different information. It's called the matrix. So if you go to that website, you'll see something called SUS Matrix. It's a very informative document that shows just really how competitive it is to get into some of our state universities here in Florida. All right, I'm going to leave that slide up. Brooke, I think you probably had some words to share. I wanted to thank all of you so much for listening to my presentation this evening. And I know we did have some questions. So Brooke, I hear you back on. So again, thank you so very much.
All right, thank you so much, Christine. So yeah, we have had a couple questions come in through the chat. So I will go over those. If you do have a question, this is the time to go ahead and submit that through the chat, and we'll go through those. Okay, our first question is from David. Is the online course generally taken in the summer or during the school year? If taken during the school year, does the student still take a full load of classes in school, or does the online class substitute for an in-school class?
That one I can answer.
Sure.
Okay. Both. David, the answer is both. The child can take it in the summer. Again, I had a lot of students, 8th grade students, that wanted to get that HOPE requirement done and out of the way so they didn't have to do it during the school day. So But schools do have schools do allow for virtual school classes during the day. So there's different ways we could do it. For example, I'll just use examples of my students. I have students that attend Palm Harbor Middle periods 1 through 4, 1 through 5, and they take the rest of their classes online. So the online course for graduation, of course, has to be a high school level course, but a child can do that depending on the master schedule. The child can do that and say attend Palm Harbor University periods 1 through 6, and then leave school a little bit early and take that 7th course at home. There's also what they have, the high schools have what's called a virtual learning lab, that they would report to the learning lab during that class period and take their virtual school class during that period. So it actually can be done in a number of different ways. You would obviously have to reach out to your individual school to see what they can accommodate. Most of my middle schoolers were taking the online class in addition to their full schedule, but like I said, I did have students that were only with us periods 1 through 5 or 1 through 6, and then they and took the rest of their, and most of those students did that because they were in some after school activities, because middle school gets out so late as compared to high school. They had to say they had gymnastics or swimming. They had something specifically that they needed to leave early for, so that worked out very, very well for them. So I hope that answers your question, David. If you have any follow-up, let me know.
Okay, great. Our next question, I think I can go ahead and answer, is there a specific form for documenting community service hours? And there is for Bright Futures. We have a proposal form that students have to complete and get approved before they do their community service hours. If if you have an incoming 9th grader, I do those approvals for the summer. So if you have someone that, like the incoming 9th grader needing approved right now, you can email me and I can get you the form. It is online. It's a little hard to find, so it's probably easier just to email me. I'm going to submit my email right now so you have it. And I can send you the form regardless of whether you have an incoming 9th grader or not, if you're needing the form right away. If you get the form completed and you are a non-incoming 9th grader, then you submit your proposal form to the e-counselor email, the ecounselor@pcsb.org, which I've also included in the chat, so you have that. But they will be the ones that do that review, and then I will do the actual sign off on it. But feel free to email me if you just need a copy of the form. The next question.
Can take
we? Okay, so I'll read it, and then
yes.
When can we access Zelo and start using it? My child is entering 7th grade in the fall. Is it too early to start exploring?
Okay, Sarah. No, absolutely not. We're actually, most schools start using it in 7th grade. We're actually, I think this year, going to try to integrate it into each grade. Do more basic stuff in 6th. We typically do the career interest inventory I was discussing in 7th, and then we focus more on the high school, preparation for high school in 8th. So it's absolutely not too early to start using it. If your child knows already how to get into Clever, it's the very last link on the bottom of Clever. It's a green icon for Zelo. Yeah, your child can certainly go in and start exploring. I know it's a little confusing maybe without some instruction, but they're pretty savvy. I'm sure that your child can figure it out, but definitely not too early to start exploring it. So please help yourself.
Yes, it's a great resource, and we're excited to have it here. It looks like I have at least one more person typing, so yep. I will wait for that. If you have a question, like I said, go ahead and feel free to type it in at this time.
We need the Jeopardy music playing. Oh, here we go.
Okay. We submitted the community service proposal form to the high school counselor. Will you accept the community service hour proposal form from the high school counselor, or should we also submit it to you? So if you've submitted it this summer, the counselors are off. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and just email me, and I can either review it, or like I said, if it's direct you to the piece or the e-counselor website to do that. So feel free to get a hold of me. I'll be back in the office tomorrow. Anybody else have any questions? Looks like
we got one more coming in. Oh, Sarah's Typing again. Would you remind us where the PowerPoint and recording will be available? Yes, Brooke, go
Sure.
ahead.
It is going, I want to type in the website so you have it, but it is our eCounselor website, which is pcsb.org/eCounselor. But sometimes it's easier to see that link, so there it is. We've got another question coming in. So question, how else can my student fulfill the HOPE requirement? Do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll take that. So Valerie, so the HOPE requirement, basically there's two ways. They can fulfill the HOPE requirement in school itself. It depends on the high school. Most high schools have the HOPE requirement either, well, actually it's about half and half. I've seen it offered, and I can only speak to the feeder schools in North County, but 9th grade or 10th grade seems to be the primary year that HOPE would be in the schedule for your child. Again, HOPE is one of those easy classes to take online because it's health and PE. The subject matter, the feedback I've received from students is that the subject matter is easy. ROTC or RC sports. Thank you, Valerie. Yes, okay. What Valerie is referring to, everyone, is that the HOPE requirement, you can be exempt for the HOPE requirement if your child participates in a varsity sport, a JV or varsity sport on the school campus. So say your child is part of the football team, the soccer team, and so on. That would substitute for the HOPE requirement. And then depending on the high school, for example, Dunedin High offers the ROTC. If a child participates, and I know Clearwater High also offers ROTC. If the child participates in ROTC, that will also exempt them from the HOPE requirement. Thank you so much, Valerie, for reminding me and mentioning that to me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, we have another question. How far in advance should the community service form be submitted so that a student can start in the summer before 9th grade? So, as I said, this is Brooke speaking. I'm the one that does that review, and I typically, if you do not, you obviously can submit them right now if you have a current incoming 9th grader. If you're looking in the future, typically I will begin accepting those in around May 1st, before the 9th grade year. So May 1st of the 8th grade year, you can start turning them in, and I will accept those. I hope that answers. Anybody else? Is there anything else before we let you go? Okay, I don't see any questions coming in, so I am going to assume that we're done. We appreciate you tuning in tonight, and again, if you do have questions that come up, feel free to use the Pinellas eCounselor website, or email us directly at ecounselor@pcsb.org. That is what the resource is here for, and we are here during the summer. So hopefully we can help answer some of your questions. And this, like I said, this recording will be available. It probably, it might not be, we're not in on Friday, so it might not be till next week, but I would say early next week you should be able to find a copy of it on our website. So thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, very much, and have a good evening.